the majority of the things that I saw in headlines about Caitlin Clark not being on the Olympic team, they said that she was left off the Olympic team. Caitlin Clark left off the Olympic team, and people and how upset they were that she was left off the Olympic team. And that is a subtle trick of phrase that is important to point out, because for the same thing that's happened and with the same set of facts surrounding what the move was, you could say they left her off the Olympic team. I suppose that's correct. You could say she did not earn a spot on the Olympic team, and that would 100% be correct. Now, if you start off in the initial premise that she did not earn her place on the Olympic team, you're going to end up in a much different place as a point of discussion than you will if you start with she was left off of the Olympic team. Because see, if you started off with, did she earn her place on the Olympic team? The answer was obviously no, she did not. She getting her ass handed to her in the WNBA right now. Not every night, but most of them, at least so far. And then there's no controversy in that discussion. But if you phrase it as, should Caitlin Clark have been left off the Olympic team? Now we can open this up from discussions that come from near and far, and the motivations basically are all justified, because what you then allow is for everybody to come up with a reason why she should have been on the Olympic team, or why you would have put her on the Olympic team, or what could have happened if she was on the Olympic team, and everything else, all things that to me fundamentally miss the point of sports in the ways that we talk about them and the reasons why we care about them, which is some notion of meritocracy. But instead, I have listened for about the last 24 hours as of the time of this recording with people willing to stand up for anybody who would hear them to explain why they are furious or why it was ridiculous that Caitlin Clark did not get something that she does not deserve. When have you ever, in watching sports, heard the people that you see on TV, read the words from the people who write, as they stand at every turn and try to explain to you why somebody should have gotten something that they did not deserve? Show it to me. And that's what's so crazy about this. Now, you can go back and check the podcast that we did like during the NCAA tournament. Sorry, guys, I was a little too lazy to go listen to them to find out exactly what I said. But I do remember that a point that I made at the time is that rising tide raises all boats, all of these things. And I felt like a lot of the fan backlash that I would see against Caitlin Clark while she was in college was missing the point, right? More hype for her, the better, because it got eyeballs on everybody else. And I thought they were doing a bad job in not using her as a segue into everybody else. But I did feel at that time that it was worth pointing out, rising tide in the boats. There's something to that. I think there's something to that, and I think the WNBA, in large part, has experienced that. But how have they experienced it becomes the question, because I think that they've experienced it thus far in an increase in ticket sales. I think that they've experienced it with an increase in television ratings, but we still haven't gotten to the point where anybody actually cares about the basketball. And I don't want to say anybody, because obviously there are people who have been caring for a long time, but you get what I'm saying. They're bringing in all these new people, and they haven't gotten around yet to the point of actually caring about the basketball. That becomes an extension and a continuation of one of the most annoying things about trying to watch the WNBA, which is, for so many people, it is not a sport, it is a cause. And when you get to the point where something stops being a sport and starts being a cause, what winds up happening is the loudest voices that surround it stop being fans, and they start being the people who are the least invested and the least informed. Now, I say that as somebody who acknowledges that he himself is not that invested and not that informed. But I think you peep game and understand what I'm saying. That's how you wind up with the Chicago Tribune putting out an editorial about people picking on poor Caitlyn. That's the hometown team, the hometown paper of the team that knocked her to the ground. They was writing the editorials, putting on their capes for Caitlyn Clark, right? That's how you see people so fervently with these large, like these loud, throaty discussions about the brand and marketing and promotion and everything else. It's also why I found it strange that Christine Brennan, a venerable columnist who is invested and interested in these games, who does care about the games themselves. I want to be careful because I don't know exactly like where to go with her on how she feels on it as a cause. I do think for her it is a cause to a degree, but I can't say it is only a cause for her. But anyway, she did the reporting on Caitlyn Clark not making the team and seems to be pretty furious about the fact that she did not make the team. And she pushed back on the idea that one of the reasons they said that they did not put Caitlyn Clark on the team is that putting her on the team wouldn't be enough. Because if they got her on the team and then she didn't play, then you'd hear the voices about why is it that she's not playing. And I could understand why that would add to your decision not to put her on the team, especially when she don't deserve it in the first place. And look, the thing about USA basketball on the women's side is there's probably 20, 25 players who deserve it because it's so stacked. This is the most dominant athletic program that the United States sends to the Olympics every year. I believe they have won 7 straight gold medals in this. They are a more dominant program than the men's program is, and the men's program is such that anytime they get a stinking bronze medal, they turn the whole damn thing upside down. And the women's program is more dominant than that. It is better than that, and I've gone through and I looked through all these years. They win the championship every year by double digits. The U.S. women's team is so far ahead of the rest of the world. But see, that creates a problem. It has allowed for what my understanding is some fairly nonsensical decisions that they have made in terms of putting people on teams. Nneka Ogwumike, Janae's older sister, one-time WNBA MVP, has never been on a U.S. Olympic team. Candace Parker had years where she was not on the U.S. Olympic team and pretty explicitly came out and said the reason she wasn't on the team is because she and Gino Auriemma did not get along with each other. So they could make all kinds of silly, ridiculous decisions to not put somebody on the Olympic team and still win because you're so far ahead. What then happens as a result is people get themselves in a place where they then feel like they can justify any nonsensical decision that they want to make. When the team feel like they can win a gold medal every time, that's the kind of stuff they do. Case in point, the 2004 Olympic team, when on the men's side, when they realized the world had caught up and they couldn't just be out there messing around, Emeka Okafor was on that team. And Emeka Okafor was on that team because it's like, hey, throw the college guy out there. Cool, why not? That'll work. Right? Because you can do that when you feel like you're just going to walk over whoever it is. And so maybe that's part of why it is that people now look at it with Caitlyn Clark and they're like, yeah, well, just throw her on there. And yeah, maybe you could. Yeah, maybe that could get the league more promotion. I honestly don't know so much. I mean, I could see the point that people are making that could be the case. What I don't understand is having a fucking attitude about it. Like, what I don't understand is being passionate about the fact that she's not on this Olympic team when you know she doesn't deserve it. So to me, the idea that we are sports fans and that we are into sports and we are going to passionately advocate somebody getting something they don't deserve, that's crazy talk to me. And I can only assume the people who would do that are the people who are those least invested in what we're talking about, least invested in the games, right? That's more that I talked about this with y'all before, man. This thing like a boss nonsense that I'm not really here for. Like, to me, that's such a cynical outlook that I can't believe that people are really getting out here out loud and saying this, right? Now, something I think, though, that is interesting about the idea of women's basketball at the Olympics and Caitlyn Clark is this. The Olympics is sports for people who don't watch sports. Like, the audience is not sports fans. You have to keep that part in mind. There is a reason why they'll put men's basketball on Peacock or NBC Sports or whatever it's been at a given point in time, because they're like, oh, you actual sports fans, why don't you get the channel that costs you an extra $5 a month to go get that, since you want to watch it so bad, and we gonna be over here with the archery and whatever it is or anything else. Okay, the Olympics is sports for people who watch the Today Show. The Olympics is an opportunity for NBC to showcase their fall lineup through all their ads for everybody who watches it. Now, I could make a very strong argument that that is an audience that would love them some Caitlin Clark, because I feel like that is in part an audience that is fueling the phenomenon of Caitlin Clark. Again, people who aren't even necessarily really that into sports. They're the ones who over here playing this game. Okay, cool. You know what will get as many eyeballs on the women's game as Caitlin Clark playing for the women's Olympic team with that audience, as much attention? You know what it is? I'm going to tell you right now. And it's something that they could do. Have Caitlin Clark on the Today Show talking about the basketball. Because clearly, the people that we are talking about who want to see her so bad don't really care that much about the basketball. So maybe you use her to introduce the basketball. No different than like having Draymond Green on the TNT set. Just have a current player up there talking about it. Because let me tell you something. I don't know Caitlin Clark. I don't know the people around her. I am very new to this terrain and territory, but I feel very confident saying what I'm about to say. She would appreciate some time off. I cannot imagine how tired and exhausting and all of this has been. She's 22 years old. They come straight out of college, go straight into this WNBA season, everything that comes with it. Like it's suddenly a whole nother level of basketball you've never played before. It's all this attention. It's all these questions. It's all these obligations. It's everything else. It has had to be incredibly tough on her confidence. She's never been in a place where she's had to play in the ways that she is right now or deal with things in the way that she is. I imagine that she could use a break. I imagine that she needs to rest up. And bless her heart, man, as we talked about this before, she keep giving all the right answers and handling all these things. Because in the end, man, you think she feel like getting hazed some more? You know what I'm saying? You think that Olympic training camp wouldn't be nothing but a long-ass haze for her? Because that's exactly what it would be, because everybody there would know she ain't had no business being there. Right? There was a training camp for USA basketball that she did not go to because she was participating in the Final Four. Apparently, she has never played in any way for the head coach of USA basketball. No, it makes perfect sense that she's not on this team. And it's not crazy that she's not on this team. And I don't think it is missing the point of, or missing the chance at riding the wave. No, there are other ways that you can use her to help further the wave that we are talking about here. But we need to be real about the fact that the loudest voices in this discussion care the least about the basketball. And if what Caitlin Clark is does not lead us to a point of actually caring about the basketball, then none of this really matters. Yeah, you can get some extra money for the TV people. You might boost these salaries just a touch or whatever it is, but you're not going to have nothing real happen here until somebody cares about the basketball. And they're not there yet. Now, I'm going to bring this last thing up before we go sell some stuff. And I have been saying this for many, many years, okay? And nobody wants to say this explicitly, but I feel like this discussion is making it clear. As I have said before, that is women's basketball, that is the most dominant athletic program that I think that this country has. We doing it to people in that way internationally, unlike we do it to anybody else, right? Like, keep in mind, in track, we ain't even got the fastest Lamont in the world no more. You know what I'm saying? As the Senegalese cab driver told me about once, they little part of Harlem, we are losing our grip, right? We ain't got the chokehold on a lot of this stuff like we used to. But women's basketball, we still got it. And they have been marching, and they have been dominating, and they have been doing this year after year after year after year after year. This is a country that, for as long as I could tell, has really cared about basketball, and it has always cared a lot more about basketball than it has soccer. And this is the best basketball country in the world. And guess what? They don't love our basketball players. Not our men's basketball players, not our women's basketball players. Any pulse of the men's national team in soccer, and everybody gets all charged up. There is a celebration for the international dominance of the women's soccer team. And by the way, people didn't even start getting mad at them when they would lose something until they got a little too political for the people's taste. You know what I'm saying? I guess I'm saying all that to say this. If it is taking Caitlin Clark to get you into the WNBA, I can understand that. If it is taking Caitlin Clark for you to get into women's Olympic basketball, I think you need to ask yourself why that is, because y'all typically love to see the red, white, and blue run wild like Hulkamania. And that's what the red, white, and blue been doing over there for a long time. So why you need that white girl from Middle America there for you to care about women's basketball? The attention and the thoughts of the WNBA are there. Are we saying that the only way to get anybody to care about the WNBA is if Caitlin Clark is there? And then if Caitlin Clark is gone, none of it matters? Because if that's what the case is, fine, go ahead and say that out loud. But acknowledge something right now. If she the only reason to watch any of this stuff, and if you are a Caitlin Clark advocate, shall we say, and you can't even come from that and be like, oh, well, she's not here, cool, but I've seen these other things that has made me then it don't matter if she plays in the Olympics. That's just a short-term money hit for NBC. You ain't grown nothing if that's all you care about. So what I think they should do is have Caitlin Clark on some of these broadcasts and let her tell you how dope Asia Wilson is. Let her tell you why Diana Taurasi is there for her 16. Let her do all of that stuff. Take this person that you love and that you care about, and then perhaps use her as a vessel to talk about these other people. Then maybe that'll be the way to grow the league. But it sounds like that'll do a lot more to grow the league than to have Caitlin Clark out here riding the pine because she ain't got no business being on that team. And you can't tell the other people on the team, hey, it's cool. It's just marketing. We're putting her out there because it's marketing. It's not how sports works. That's not how sports works. And acknowledge that if you believe that every decision they're supposed to make about Caitlin Clark has to do with marketing, acknowledge yourself that you're not into this because it's a sport. Acknowledge yourself that you do not take this seriously. Say that out loud. Then ask yourself, why don't you take it seriously? And see if you're brave enough to say that part out loud, because you're probably going to embarrass yourself. You can turn $10 into $1,000 with playoff basketball and hockey entries today on Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Prize Picks is really simple to play, and you can make your picks and submit your entry in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. So make sure you go to prizepicks.com/Bomani and use code Bomani for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Bomani. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.